The quality of life. There was a time when people could leave their doors unlocked and windows open without worry, and few were concerned about leaving car doors unlocked. Today, we are told to keep all doors and windows locked, even while at home. We're also advised never to leave anything visible in our cars and to always lock them. Local stores are being robbed with impunity. What changed? This problem didn't happen overnight. The problem started as early as the 1960s with the progressive movement beginning in the late 19th century, gaining significant momentum around the early 20th century. While the progressive movement sought to improve society through various reforms, some of its policies unintentionally led to the situation we see today. The homeless. The homeless problem we see today came through a combination of laws such as the Lanterman-Petris-Short Act, 1967, which limited involuntary holds for mental health reasons, and the Martin v. City of Boise decision, 2018, which ruled that criminalizing homelessness without providing shelter options is unconstitutional. These changes effectively meant that police cannot remove homeless individuals from public spaces unless they are a danger to themselves, others, or if there are available shelter options. The American Civil Liberties Union, ACLU, has been involved in numerous legal actions over the years to protect the rights of homeless individuals in California. One notable case from the 1960s is Jones versus the City of Los Angeles, where the ACLU of Southern California challenged the criminalization of homelessness. This case resulted in a significant victory, as the court ruled that it was unconstitutional to punish people for sleeping on the streets when no shelter was available. In the late 1960s and 1970s, the state of California began a major shift in its approach to homelessness and mental health, primarily through the process of deinstitutionalization. This policy was aimed at moving individuals with mental illness out of state-run mental hospitals and into community-based settings. It was during this time that many homeless individuals began to appear more visibly on the streets. The results were the closing down of the state's psychiatric hospitals. Despite changes in the laws and policies aimed at addressing homelessness, many individuals continue to live on the streets due to a combination of personal factors such as substance abuse, mental illness, and the desire for independence. The legal environment, shaped by rulings like Martin v. Boise, has limited the ability of authorities to remove homeless individuals from public spaces, with many homeless individuals choosing to remain on the streets. By the mid-1970s, the consequences of these policies were becoming evident as California, especially in urban areas like Los Angeles and San Francisco, saw a significant increase in homelessness. In any case, Los Angeles County Jail has become the largest drug and alcohol treatment facility in the country. Many inmates struggle with substance abuse issues, and the jail serves as a major hub for addressing these problems, offering rehabilitation programs alongside incarceration. It's staggering how a correctional facility has evolved into a major center for rehabilitation. Criminal justice system. In recent years, California has undergone several significant changes in its criminal justice system, which has been linked to an increase in crime and repeat offenses. These reforms reflect a shift toward more lenient policies, particularly for nonviolent offenders. However, these changes have inadvertently contributed to the state's growing crime problem. Proposition 36, 2012. This measure amended the state's 1994 three strikes law, which had mandated life sentences for anyone convicted of 3 felonies, regardless of the severity of the third offense. Under Proposition 36, life sentences are now reserved for cases where the third strike is a serious or violent felony, such as murder, rape, or armed robbery. While this reform was intended to reduce the number of nonviolent offenders serving life terms, it has allowed repeat offenders with a history of serious crimes to receive more lenient sentences, putting the public at risk. Proposition 47, 2014. Proposition 47 reclassified several nonviolent felonies, including drug possession, petty theft, and forgery, as misdemeanors. The main goal was to reduce prison overcrowding. While this initiative succeeded in lowering the state's prison population, it reduced the consequences for property crimes and drug-related offenses. Proposition 47 has emboldened criminals and contributed to a rise in theft and drug-related activities. Law enforcement agencies have reported a growing number of repeat offenders who view the reduced penalties as a slap on the wrist. Proposition 57, 2016. This reform allowed nonviolent offenders to be considered for parole earlier in their sentences. It also gave inmates the ability to earn credits for good behavior and participation in rehabilitation programs, further accelerating their release. While proponents hailed it as a way to alleviate overcrowded prisons and incentivize rehabilitation, detractors argue that the broad definition of nonviolent crimes under Proposition 57 has led to the early release of individuals who may still pose a threat to public safety. Together, these reforms have altered the landscape of California's criminal justice system. The lack of prosecution of criminals, especially for nonviolent and low-level offenses, coupled with increasing prosecutorial discretion to decline or reduce charges, have contributed to a rise in repeat offenses and emboldened criminal behavior. These reforms have gone too far in decriminalizing certain behaviors, leaving law enforcement with fewer tools to prevent crime, and giving offenders more opportunities to reoffend. Illegal immigrants. Illegal immigration has long been a contentious issue in the United States, particularly in states like California, which has a large immigrant population. One of the most pressing concerns is the strain it places on social services, such as healthcare, low-income housing, education, and law enforcement. This strain has contributed to broader social challenges, including homelessness and crime. A notable example of the impact on housing can be seen in Los Angeles County, where a significant number of illegal immigrants reside. According to a UCLA study, homelessness among Latinos in the county has seen a marked rise in recent years, with a substantial portion of the affected population being illegal immigrants. As affordable housing becomes increasingly scarce, this population faces higher risks of eviction, overcrowding, and ultimately homelessness. In terms of healthcare, illegal immigrants rely on emergency rooms for medical care because they lack health insurance. This leads to overcrowded hospitals and increased costs for local governments. For instance, California's Medi-Cal program, which covers low-income residents, has been stretched thin by the high demand for healthcare services, further complicating efforts to address the needs of legal residents who depend on these services. The costs of uncompensated care, where hospitals treat individuals without the ability to pay, can run into billions of dollars annually, forcing hospitals to either absorb the costs or pass them on to other patients in the form of higher fees. In low-income housing, illegal immigrants also compete for limited affordable housing units, contributing to a housing crisis that disproportionately affects lower-income populations. As more people enter the already strained housing market, rents increase, and low-income individuals, including many U.S. citizens, is pushed out of housing and into homelessness. Cities like Los Angeles and San Francisco have reported rising homelessness rates in part due to the overflow demand on low-income housing. Illegal immigrants, who often work in low-wage, informal sectors, are less able to afford stable housing, exacerbating their vulnerability to homelessness. Furthermore, the presence of illegal immigrants can lead to increased tensions within communities, particularly in areas where public services are already stretched thin. In regions like California's Central Valley and parts of San Diego, the arrival of large numbers of illegal immigrants has led to localized tensions over resource allocation, including access to jobs, education, and housing. These tensions contribute to the increase in crime rates, particularly in areas with large illegal populations. For instance, gang-related activity and drug trafficking networks often target vulnerable immigrant populations, both as recruits and victims, due to their precarious legal status and limited access to law enforcement protection. This marginalized status can push them toward illegal activities for survival, which in turn affects public safety and increases the strain on law enforcement and the judicial system. As illegal immigrants continue to struggle for basic survival, the competition for limited resources creates a ripple effect, negatively impacting public safety, social cohesion, and the ability of local authorities to provide for both legal residents and undocumented populations. Summary. For decades, California has been on a trajectory that has led to the current crisis, shaped by a combination of relaxed law enforcement policies, rising homelessness, and illegal immigration. These factors have converged to create what many consider the perfect storm, a situation where public safety, social services, and community well-being are under unprecedented strain. The erosion of law enforcement's ability to effectively manage crime has played a central role in this decline. Progressive criminal justice reforms, aimed at reducing incarceration and prioritizing rehabilitation, have gone too far, leaving law enforcement and prosecutors with fewer tools to address crime at the ground level. As a result, communities have become less safe, and repeat offenders are cycling through a system that appears more lenient than protective. The homelessness crisis has exploded, exacerbated by high housing costs, mental health issues, and the increasing presence of illegal immigrants. In cities like Los Angeles and San Francisco, the sight of encampments has become commonplace, and the challenges posed by homelessness, ranging from public health risks to increased petty crime, have left many citizens feeling helpless. Illegal immigration has further strained public resources, leaving many to feel that the system is overburdened and underfunded. Despite these glaring issues, the political landscape has remained stagnant, with voters repeatedly electing the same leadership that has presided over this deterioration. Year after year, many Californians continue to cast their ballots for politicians who promise change, but often double down on policies that contribute to the very problems they aim to solve. Whether due to party loyalty, political ideology, or simply a lack of alternatives, the cycle continues, leading many to feel trapped in their own communities. For many residents, particularly the elderly, this reality has turned life into a daily struggle for safety. In neighborhoods once considered safe, fear has taken root. Seniors who once felt secure in their homes now live in fear, locking their doors and avoiding venturing out after dark. Parents who once trusted their children to walk to school alone now feel the need to drive them or accompany them, afraid of what dangers may lurk nearby. The sense of community and security that once defined California's neighborhoods is rapidly eroding, replaced by anxiety and isolation. Albert Einstein is often credited with saying, "Insanity is doing the same thing over and over and expecting a different result." This sentiment resonates strongly in today's California, where, despite growing frustration with the current situation, voters continue to choose the same political leaders who have overseen the state's decline. As crime rises, homelessness worsens, and public safety deteriorates, many are left wondering when, or if, the state will break free from this cycle of dysfunction. It is clear that meaningful change will require not just a shift in policy, but also a shift in the mindset of voters who hold the power to demand more from their elected officials. To bring about change, voters need to select candidates who will break the one-party system, oppose the sanctuary state policies, stop the use of public funds and housing for illegal immigrants, insist on transparency, and enact and enforce legislation that prioritizes citizens over criminals. Your vote counts.